Hello, my astrology friends. This is Lada from Astrolada.com, and again this year is time for the 2022 yearly prediction, which is much anticipated every year. This is just my perspective using the stars and astrology and my God-given intuition to lead you through the years to prepare, maybe to be excited what to expect for, to prepare you consciously for what is more worrisome. And first of all, generally to start, the year is a Venus year. It's the number 6222, which hopefully already will make it a bit more easier because Venus is the planet of ease and love. And I'm hoping for more love in the hearts of people. Last year, 2021, was a number five, which is very unpredictable, full of twists and turns. And you see everyone, they were telling us, do this, don't do this, a lot of new things and changes. While six is a bit more stabilizing. But let's look through the eyes of astrology. And before I start, I want to tell you that my yearly video horoscopes, which are 2.5 hours for each sign, are going to be discounted just for this week, the week of Christmas, from $19 to $12. For anyone who wants to get it, already 6,000 or 7,000 have been ordered. I'm very excited that you love them and appreciate them so much. So check them out. But let's start with the year 2022. A bit of a forward, because this will not be a personal prediction. It will be for everyone collectively, for the world, where we're heading, what to expect. But in order to understand the year 2022, we have to start from the year 2020, which is a zero year. What do I mean zero? That's when a lot of conjunctions happen. There were two major conjunctions. When there are years of major conjunctions, they're like a year when like the counting starts from them, like the year, because so many new things happen. And we know 2020 was the start of this new reality we're living in. And the first big conjunction that we had was Saturn and Pluto. It happened in Capricorn. If you remember, that's exactly when this whole thing exploded. And in 2019, I told you, before everything started, you can even check the videos, a new tyranny is coming. Tyrannical, despotical takeover of the world that is going to tighten its grip. We have videos from 2019. I repeat it in 2 or 3 of them, and I speak for an hour in each one of them. And I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I knew that whatever it is, it will be for control. And obviously they're using a biological warfare, whatever, but I didn't know it was going to happen like that, but I just knew. And we astrologers were telling you something is coming that will tighten the grip and control on the world and the population. And unfortunately, this kind of conjunctions with Saturn and Pluto, they determine what will be the ruling energy for the next 35 years, because they last for about 35 years. The influence is felt for 35 years, so till 50 something. But it doesn't have to be so. The previous conjunction in 1981 or 82 was in Libra, which is more gentler sign. This is when a lot more freedoms were started to be given to people, but this was when the neoliberalism started to happen, the trickle-down economy, because Libra is a sign of trade. So trade was made easier around the world. So trade conventions were created, but again, this kind of the takeover of businesses, Libra rules businesses as well, started happening. But now is a corporate takeover of the government. Capricorn rules corporations and top-down hierarchies, which are tightening the grip. And it's kind of, Capricorn really likes centralized power because Capricorn rules pyramids. So that's what centralized power is. One on top, maybe, I don't know, let's say 12 families or 1,000 people around the world that no one else knows about. They control the next level, but the level below them knows nothing. While we at the bottom just get bits and pieces, and we're trying to piece it together. So this is what this Capricorn-Saturn conjunction, and that's when the plan kicked in. Of course, people in higher powers, they use occult knowledge. we absolutely know that, because they're definitely, this knowledge is, they use astrology since time immemorial. So they chose very wisely. I say they're very clever buggers, as above, so below. And that's the most negative manifestation of this cycle that started of Saturn and Pluto and Capricorn is total control, hierarchical, from top down. Those at the bottom don't know what's happening on top. And those even on the high levels, just those on the top know what's really happening. And we're trying to piece it together through astrology, guys. And that's really the darkest manifestation of Capricorn. On the high level, and that's where humanity can go for 30 years. And there are predictions even from prophets that the tyranny is coming for about 20, 25, for 45 years. They were saying that it actually starts from the year 2000 when the two towers broke down. One very famous prophet, being Saduno, he said that from the year 2000 gradually will come up world tyranny that will last about 45 years and will fall apart, but it can start breaking down before those 45 years run out. And we're seeing they tighten the grip now, 20 years into this regime, and now they're really coming out publicly. It's absolutely obvious. No, everyone who has eyes can see this, and they can see something is off, but we have as free will, nothing is set in stone. We can manifest the higher vibration of this Capricorn conjunction in Saturn and Pluto. On the lowest levels, as I told you, is hierarchical top-down control of corporations and government merged into one, and just only those at top really know what's happening, and they control others through other layers. That's the worst. That's where we're heading towards. Don't worry though, I have really good news for you, because these energies, they are more powerful energies that are running parallel, that are going to overwhelm those. But there is a positive manifestation of Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn as well, which we can manifest on a personal level. On a collective, usually the lowest denominator of energy manifests, as you can see. And if you look, everything since the year 2020 has been about fear. This is the low denomination of Capricorn: fear, control. Be scared of your neighbor, be scared to go out, be scared to talk to another, be scared to say your opinion. The world is scary, there is scarcity. But on a positive level, this 30 years ahead, 35 years of Saturn Pluto conjunction can be used privately for personal self-control and self-regulation. So no longer, now it's the lowest denomination is someone from above telling you what to eat, how to dress, what to wear, whether to speak, whether to cough, whether you have right to work, whether you have right to live or go to hospitals. They're getting really intense. You know, if you're a healthy person but you don't agree to their agenda, you might be quarantined, you might be entered into, you might be put in prison even if you don't agree with what's happening, under the guise of fear, the common good. So it's getting very scary on one level. On the high level, though, this Capricorn energy is here to tell us that you can take personal authority. The highest manifestation of Saturn is I'm responsible for my own life. And instead of relying on institutions, on corporations to give me food, to allow me to work, to tell me what to eat, I'm going to take personal responsibility of my food, how I take care of my life. We have 30 years to do that. And more the people that are coming into age will start doing that. What business to do, they'll start taking personal responsibility, which is not easy. It comes with a lot of responsibility, with a lot of persistency, with a lot of deprivation. And no matter what we try, the next 35 years will be more constrained. But we doesn't have to be constrained on the level of we're locked down by no matter what, whether it's viruses, whether it's global warming that they're trying to do, also lockdowns on such basis. If you read a little bit, these are the next plans, and so on. But we can do it on a personal level in such a way that you less consumerism. First of all, you rely more on your own actions, because Capricorn rules your actions. It's a very action-oriented sign. You can rely on your actions to create your food, to create your career, and so on, instead of a top-down authority. So we can use that. So we need to learn to live for the coming 30 years, whether we like it or not, in a more constricted way, in a more, let's say, self-governing way. for those that are more mature, those that are not, will be nannied by the government, being told what to eat, who to meet, being told what to put in their body, and all that you're seeing, whether they can go here or there, it's gonna tighten even more. Unfortunately, I cannot. If you don't agree with all the rules they have, it's going to continue. This is the astrology. It's 35-year cycle. Look at the other Saturn Pluto conjunctions. All those 30, 35 years, they always have that energy. And so coming back to this, we have to learn to recognize what is essential. The higher manifestation of Capricorn is, what are your priorities? What is essential? Capricorn rules death with the sky. What to cut off from your life, or is it over consumerism? Is it, spending unnecessary on things that we don't really need? Is it jobs that we don't need? This self-regulation will happen, and it's great. We'll become way more disciplined. We'll realize we can live with way much less. We'll realize what is the essential. Capricorn energy is what is the priority and the essential. And we'll get to do things on our own. And that gives you the biggest, the lasting results and the most satisfaction. This is the gift of Capricorn. On another level, in the year 2020, we started another cycle. That's Saturn and Jupiter conjunct in Aquarius, which is a 20-year cycle. And people say, well, the Saturn Pluto is 35. Well, obviously the Capricorn energy is going to overpower on collectively, the top-down government, what I've been talking about. And because the Aquarius symbol, the Aquarius is it's still ruled by Saturn, but also Uranus. Aquarius also rules systems. Capricorn rules the hierarchical ones, but Aquarius rules systems without a center, like a network, that are each connected with each other, like the nervous system. There is no center there. So every part of the system is as important as every other part. And people are saying, well, it's only 20 years. And that's where Aquarius is about sovereignty and freedom. So they're saying, is it going to be the top-down, strict control of Capricorn, or is it going to be the sovereignty and independence that many people are feeling of Aquarius? And I'm telling you what's going to win. Aquarius is going to win because it's a bit shorter, yes, but at the same time, we're starting into a 2,500 year Aquarius age. If you look on the spring equinox currently, the first day of spring, the constellation of Pisces, the last 5 degrees of Pisces and the first 5 degrees of Aquarius, they're kind of merging a little bit. They're stepping on each other a little bit, are rising, which means we're already entering into the age of Aquarius, which will carry 2,500 years. So no matter how much they're trying to keep this pyramid standing, it's not going to. It's going to be melted from the bottom down. And those on top will see it last. There's very good experiments on YouTube. You can see, you put cubes of sugar built like a pyramid, and you put around it water, and the pyramid starts melting, but the top of the pyramid stays, and at the end, they're the last ones to see the pyramid falls apart because it comes from the grassroots, from the bottom. This is what the water represents. The collective, the rising of the collective consciousness, which is what Aquarius age is all about. Aquarius rules consciousness. Aquarius rules our intelligence and thinking independently. And see what the mantra has been for the last 2 years. Trust the science. Okay, you can trust the science. Don't think for yourself. Don't do your own research. Trust the experts. Well, they're trying to reverse it. Always, that's how the dark forces work. They try to reverse the meaning of the age. While Aquarius wants to teach you to think independently, to do your own research, to become a bit like a Renaissance man, to know a bit about, knowledge. This is Aquarius. To gain knowledge about science, about politics, about history, about viruses, about health. And this is knowledge that connects to each other. It's not knowledge that is controlled by different institutions and it's kind of like, oh, I know everything about trees, oh, I know everything about chemistry, but I know nothing about biology, for example. No, Aquarius is the Renaissance knowledge, the Renaissance man that has knowledge, and it connects with one another, and the sciences connect with one another, and they start thinking more holistically, and they start seeing the bigger picture. And that's what we have to do. We don't be like a horse with blinkers. The ones that will survive, the ones that will thrive in the age of Aquarius, that is already started, will be the ones that think for themselves independently, will be the ones that are educating themselves not just in one niche, like a horse with blinkers. It's great to be an expert in one field, of course, but you need to, because the bigger, the higher knowledge, it's interconnected. You know, even Einstein knew it, and he said there is one formula that will solve everything. You know, so we need to connect things and not be like, oh, this one says this one says this. No, connect it and exchange information with each other, and constantly learn. And yes, do your research. Is it on the internet? Is it in libraries? Do it wherever you want. But don't blindly trust authorities and what others tell you. Don't fall into the Capricorn illusion, the low manifestation of Capricorn illusion. Use the high vibration of Capricorn to self-govern, to not to be profligate, not to be wasteful. We have to learn not to be wasteful. We have to learn to self-regulate, to be our own authority. This is the highest manifestation. And eventually this pyramidal top structure of Capricorn will be dissolved within the next 20 years. But you can see the year 2021, we had a huge conjunction in Aquarius in February. Already at the end of 2020, Saturn, Jupiter in Aquarius. Then in February, we had the Sun, Mercury, Mars, Venus. I forgot how many planets were there. It was a huge stellium. What happened? Such a massive awakening. In 2020, the whole year was still on the Saturn, Pluto in Capricorn. We didn't have much Aquarius influence till the end of the year, so people were scared. No one knew what's happening. Maybe it's, maybe no, it's deadlier than the plague. And yes, maybe many people left really, but still 2020, the mortality was lower than in previous years. So maybe it was, not as scary as we were being told. Even though it's there is something there. But in when Aquarius energy started coming from the end of 2020, especially the whole 2021, you saw this wave of awakening. Not if you're on mainstream media. If you're on mainstream media, you saw propaganda and the hierarchical powers were putting down the information, because all media is owned by 6 companies and they're owned by one company. So everything there, serves certain agenda, and that's a hierarchical agenda. And if you remember, when I made the video in 2019 about the age of Aquarius, the 10th house in the age of Aquarius is Scorpio, and that's the governments and the powers that the moment Aquarius energy starts coming, which started the Aquarius age started coming 100 years ago, and that was a huge wave from 2021 as well. But Scorpio being in the 10th house of Aquarius means that those in power will use any ruthless means, subterfuge, manipulation, those negative qualities of Scorpio. Don't think that's only negative, but even occult powers, secret organizations, secret societies, they're on top and they're ruling. There is black magicians and all kind of the dark things. Imagine anything that you can imagine that is dark and black. This is the Scorpionic energy that is connected to death, that is connected to total control and manipulation and ruthlessness. So this is what is happening right now. You can see this energy, but the high manifestation of Scorpio, which is the 10th house of Aquarius, the government, is eventually, maybe not in the next few decades, but within 100 years, maybe the people on top of the higher manifestation of Scorpio is people with extreme insight, people with extreme occult powers, but for good, the white magicians, like high priests, like shamans almost, that can be in power. But we're at the beginning of this age, and now is the law manifestation of Scorpio, and really those on power. And I know some of you might think I'm totally crazy, but if you look what's happening, I mean, why is what would scorpionic powers encourage? They would encourage filth on the TV, in the music, the low vibrations of food, of anything that you can imagine. Oh, what are you reading? The porn industry, the music industry, what is on TV, fear, negativity. It's a very scorpionic low vibration vibe. Scorpio is mafia. It's a big mafia on top. As well. But sorry to tell that, but the high manifestation of Scorpio is magicians, the real good magicians that will come one day, the white magicians, the white initiated beings. This is the law manifestation of Scorpio is, is the scorpion. It's a symbol of black magic and control, and trying to control through fear. The high manifestation of Scorpio, actually, Scorpio has another symbol, and is the eagle and the dove. The highest manifestation is the dove. And just when I said that, the dove came and landed on the tree there. So that's why even in the Bible, the 4 Bibles that represent the 4 fixed signs, there is an eagle on one side. It's not the scorpion. Or the highest manifestation is the dove. If you've heard the dove of the Holy Spirit, these will be people gifted with the Holy Spirit one day who are in power. The control will come there. These will be initiates. Now we have the dark initiates in power. But the high initiates, initiation of any sort is very scorpionic. But, like Jesus Christ was initiate, Buddha was initiate, but in the positive way. So we'll turn this around, don't worry. I hope it's within this lifetime, but these white magicians, those initiates, they're there. They exist. They're usually very humble, but very soon, like it's predicted in the Bible, it's predicted everywhere, it will be, the dark will crash, it will destroy itself, like the Scorpio kills itself with its own poison, with the tail. Sometimes Scorpio would rather be killed by something else, would strike itself and kill itself. Well, because they're going down, because the cubes are melting, there will be self-destruction. So don't worry how it will happen. Do we have personal responsibility to bring this down? We have it within ourselves, with our own personal life. As I said, take more personal control of your life. And as you can see, the awakening is happening. I've never seen so much, like in 2021, millions of people protesting. Last week, 2 days ago, there was 500,000 in Austria, in Vienna, and Vienna is 1.5 million. In London, 1 million people. Every single weekend, millions, if not billions, people are out on the streets. And if you're someone like me who lives in the deep village, you'd never see this if you're just watching TV. But there are the alternative ways. So this is Aquarius. I told you in 2020 or 2019, 2020 that when the Aquarius conjunction happens, and the whole 2021, there will be big uprising and civil, I wouldn't call it even disobedience, because most times it's very peaceful, but it will be people coming in big groups together. This is Aquarius, the grassroots, the hoi polloi merging. That's what the Capricornian hierarchy is most afraid of, this coming together, which melts the power. And they're trying to make it like 500 people gathered here, think more like 100,000. But it cannot be, truth comes out, and more people are awakening. This is Aquarius, and we're going to have in 2022 very powerful Aquarian energy as well. But first, the year starts with quite strong Capricorn energy, because the first month or two, the first couple of months, will have mostly planets in Capricorn. So Venus, Mercury, I've lost my Mercury here, the Sun, Pluto. So you see the first 2 months, I think, quite the government's tightening down, more rules, more going to prison if you don't do what they say, banning you from gathering. So you feel for a second that this Capricornian energy is winning. Well, on a personal level, you can use the first 2 months for self-discipline, for restraining, removing unnecessary things. Is it sugar from your life? Is it alcohol? Is it the people you don't want? This how exercising, training or maybe doing something like making it as a routine, diminishing the unnecessary things in your life. But then all those planets start moving to Aquarius, and the big sorry, and they meet Venus and Mars in the first degree of Aquarius, where the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter happened in 2020 again, triggering this point again that starts happening from, was it February, March, something like that? February, March, I think, I'm not sure, yeah. And then Mars, so we have one conjunction, and remember, conjunctions are great forces of power, new energy coming in, and that Mars joining with Saturn in Aquarius, so starting another new cycle. These are smaller cycles of a couple of years, but still very powerful cycles, because these are one of the most important cycles this year. So we'll see this from the end of February, March, April, when those conjunctions are starting to happen. You'll see a huge uprise. Again, the Aquarian energies coming together, people rising together. Might get violent because Saturn and Mars will be joining in Aquarius. They have more of a violent energy somehow. Or, you know, there might be force being used on the people that can get a bit scary around April, you know. But we have some mitigating influences there. But there'll be again, and Aquarius is finding your own tribe. In 2021, how many of you started thinking, okay, these are the kind of people I can be with, these are the kind of people I can't? We split in two. And I told you in 2019, I told I'm going to collect a video of experts, of cuts, where I say in 2019, before this all started, I said the world's going to split in two from the end of 2020. There will be two waves. One will be the Aquarian one will be the Capricornian. Capricornian, mostly people who prefer to live under the system, who trust the system, who probably still need the system. You know, not everyone is ready for that freedom. Freedom comes with a lot of responsibility. Freedom comes with being an outsider first. Freedom comes with being an outcast. These are the other manifestation of Aquarius. And a lot of people might need to work in the system still, but there will be the people that, and I was telling you, that split into Capricorn, into Aquarius. And it doesn't mean if you're Capricorn, you'll be in this sphere. If you're Aquarius, you'll be here. No, you might be Capricorn, but you're getting on the wave of Aquarius, which is awakening. This huge awakening. I can't believe it. I wanted to cry so many times in 2021. Things that I've known for 20, 30 years since I was a teenager. And I felt so lonely that no one knew them. The things I'm telling you now. And I thought there is no way humanity will... I couldn't talk to anyone. They would stare at me blankly, those things I'm telling you now. And I'm sure that there will be 100,000 views on this video within weeks, and people would be saying, I hear you, I understand you, and I don't feel lonely anymore. And it's so great. So many people are awake, and I didn't know how God was gonna do it, but thank you, God. Thank you for the force. I mean, thank you for, we need the squeeze of, you know, another meaning of Capricorn is a tight grip. You need to take out the tube, the essence of the toothpaste. You need to squeeze it. That's Capricorn. Squeeze it and the essence will come out. This is our spiritual essence coming out, our independent thinking. This is what we have to learn to do in the age of Aquarius. And I don't feel anymore like this loner Aquarius like I used to be for years. No one understanding me. Because I have all of you. I'm sure many people will unsubscribe from me because of this video, but others will say this is my tribe, because we found what our tribe is. And I don't want to bring more into the separation, because yes, I'm on this end. I'm going to go on the fringes of society. I'm going to form communities, and I'm looking for those people. It doesn't have to be communities of hundreds of people. I need 2-3 people I can rely on here around me. One that can fix things, one that can grow food, and we're organizing in small little cells. And that's what is going to happen. It's still ideologically that people are organizing with each other in 2022. It continues, but the vision will start coming out in 2022. And an action will start happening. Why is that? Because Jupiter in 2021 was in Aquarius. And wherever Jupiter goes, this is where the biggest blessings for humanity go. So Jupiter brought this huge awakening happening. And Aquarius rules finding your tribe ideologically according to like-minded beliefs. And you saw what's happening. And again, as I say, I don't want to separate people. I have friends that are they are worried for what's happening from the disease. They're taking all the medications that the government is telling them. They're my friends, and we love each other, and we're celebrating Christmas even together. You should not exclude people, but you should be in the know. And I can rely on them, and they can rely on me if things get bad. I told them my perspective, and they said, okay, I don't believe you, but if this happens, we have each other's back. So that's how we should proceed. Don't create sheeple, morons, purebloods, whatever. Let's not go there. We want all to be good. We're gonna be helping each other. So when Jupiter was in Aquarius, we found our tribe. People started waking up ideologically. The ideology started forming, the independent thinking. And then Jupiter goes into Pisces till May the 10th. So for the first part of the year, and then in December, I think November and December, the last 1 month of the year. So for 6 months, it's in Pisces, but especially the first part of the year, Jupiter will be in Pisces. And it will join their Neptune. That's the biggest conjunction in April the 12th. That's the most important thing this year that you'll notice. There they are. And I want to give you a few pointers what this can mean. First of all, Jupiter means that those ideas, those new thinking independently that's happening, this forming of groups. Jupiter also rules grassroots movements when it's in Aquarius. They started happening. Those huge protests that started happening, those huge people saying this is my tribe and this is my ideology. Well, now Pisces is about imagining. Because till now they were protesting, Aquarius is very much about rebelling, protesting, finding each other's trap. I have your back, I have your back. But Pisces, it's about let's envision the future. We need to imagine, Pisces imagination, and download. Pisces to download from the invisible worlds the new plan. So now the visionaries will come. The visionaries, the creatives, the artists with the imagination. Oh, the music. Oh, Pisces is one of the musical signs, and Taurus is the other. Taurus will be stimulated by Rahu, innovation, and Jupiter and Rahu have similar nature, they say, of growth, of expansion, and Jupiter will be in the other sign of Pisces. Finally, and already this good music started coming out when Jupiter was in Aquarius, but it was more rebellious. Will not comply, whatever. But the true artists are coming out now, the true visionaries. Many of you can feel this call in yourself to create a vision for the future of some sort. Someone needs to imagine it, someone needs the imagination. Jupiter will infuse it now. And this will be the imagining, but then the moment Jupiter enters into Aries is the action. So already within 2022, we're going to see that what started in Aquarius, the new cycle of Jupiter with Saturn, with finding your own tribe, ideologically defining, started to think for yourself, then imagining what is coming, in your imagination, dreaming it up, in Pisces. And the inspiration, then we go into action. Because Jupiter is a social collective planet. Wherever it goes, society goes. Aries is go, go, go. No more just protesting, no more just dreaming. We're going to start acting now. And then when Jupiter goes into Pisces again, the end of the year, we come back to reimagine things a bit, maybe to redo the plan. And Jupiter comes back into Aries, and it's go again in 2023. So the pioneers are coming, those that take the actions, the leaders, the new leaders. Because you see a little bit of a bit disorganized in 2021, a bit like a big tribe, but without too much focus of action, what exactly to do, a bit disorganized. We didn't have our own heroes. Yes, they're heroes, but there'll be more heroes, more bravery coming after May, more people speaking out. Aries is, and Jupiter expands whatever it touches. Aries is bravery. Aries is hero. Aries is Hercules. Aries is the one that the knight in shining armor that will sacrifice himself for one ideal. And of course, the ideals and the high came from Aquarius, the high vision, the spiritual inspiration from Pisces, and then it's time for action. So you see what we've been talking about, those communities start taking place, those people that rebelled against the system, or who are seeing the truth and starting to question, those awakened ones will say, okay, enough just dreaming, or enough just, getting together to discuss things or to protest. Now we have two areas. Is very sign about manufacturing, building, about getting your hands dirty, about the tools, very technical. So they're going to get very technical. They're going to start building. They're going to start, I hope it doesn't go into war, because that's another manifestation. War being used against people, or more forces against people, or people becoming more belligerent. They might start doing some strategic actions, but because Jupiter is more benevolent planet, I think it will be, hopefully in a more positive way, the action influence of Aries. So those new heroes will be born, those new initiatives, and on a personal level, a lot more new businesses can be started when Jupiter, entrepreneurship starts to blossom when Jupiter goes into Aries. Life force, courage, people are no longer afraid. Plus, look, Jupiter was in Aquarius most of 2022, and most of 2020 was again with Saturn. Jupiter is the fate of the people. And when it's with Saturn and the freedoms of the people, it's suppressed. But when it goes away from Saturn, a sign already from the start of the year, more people are not so afraid. They're not under the thumb so much. That's why I don't think lockdowns will be so severe, unless or just the first part of 2020. And the more Jupiter moves away from Saturn, the more freedom people will find ways around to have, the less fear they will have, the more faith they will have. You start feeling more and more positive. We'll start collectively as humanity feeling more and more positive. So I'm very excited about that. Again, also, if you remember, in 2021, Jupiter entered for a couple of months in Pisces, and that's where most of the travel restrictions fell in most countries. The mask bans, the lockdowns, even, for some times they even stopped talking about green certificates and whatnot. So I hope that when Jupiter comes into Pisces again, maybe we'll have a bit more freedom. Plus, Pisces rules traveling, and Jupiter also rules traveling, and Jupiter is very strong in Pisces. Till now, Jupiter was weak with Saturn. Any planet with Saturn is suppressed, it's blocked. So traveling and higher education and going to church, these all things Jupiter rules, was suppressed. Plus Sagittarius also rules that, and we had the South Node, which is an weakening influence in Sagittarius, but South Node is coming out of Sagittarius. Jupiter is coming away from the influence of Saturn and becoming very strong in its own sign. So the sign and the planet responsible for travel, for going to church, for praising, for having more faith, for humans being more humane and uplifted together, and having more auspicious circumstances will start happening. Plus there will be I think traveling should become somehow easier because of that, but I think restrictions will stay until Saturn is in Aquarius. Aquarius is the people, Saturn is to control. So further rules for one more year, 2022. Saturn continues to be in Aquarius, so they are step by step putting more rules, more regulations, more whatever. So the lockdowns, I think, and all the restrictions, not all, but at least some. As I said, it's easier already because Jupiter is away from Saturn. It's in a sign of more freedom in Pisces, in Aries as well, where it breathed easier. So we'll start seeing this, but maybe because people won't be so fearful anymore. People will not comply so much with their own actions. But while Saturn is in Aquarius, from top down, from the above, there will be a lot of rules still. And let's talk a little bit more about Jupiter in Pisces, though. What can I see, Jupiter in Pisces? There are many positive things. I think it's Jupiter in Aquarius did like intellectual awakening. People starting to question, people starting to think independently for themselves. Jupiter in Pisces will see more like mystical awakening. That's what It's already seeing into other dimensions type of thing. A lot of people, especially when Jupiter joins Neptune around April, they can have some breakthrough, like astral travel, experiencing of the Christed consciousness, experiences of unity, divine love. This is the thing that opens up your uh, Jupiter. Pisces is the sign of feeling one with everything, what all the mystics talk about. Or I even know normal people that suddenly for an hour or for a day they would have this experience that they're part of everything, that everything flows through them, the energy, and they've never been afraid since then. They explain it like a spiritual, mystical experience. Some people who take ayahuasca or LSD might have experienced it for a little bit, but it's not the real thing, you know. When you're experiencing it naturally, because your vibrations have risen, because of love, because of awareness, because of consciously striving to connect with another, because of being morally good. You don't need to do any special exercises. You can do it by meditating 9 hours per day for a year or two, probably enter those states. But in esoteric circles, the Western ones, it is known that if you build the virtues within you, then your higher powers awaken, and the virtues are, treat others as you want to be treated, love your neighbor, don't say lies, be as when you say something, fulfill your promise, help those in need, and though, these are the moral human virtues. If you consciously work on them, then you have one day you can wake up and you can be able to exit your body in and out to, because those things can be done in ways without achieving moral values, but they're with occult exercises. And if you do it, it can get very dark and scary, and it can lead to mental illness even. But if you do it, you don't even need to do a single occult exercise, as long as you've developed independent thinking. This is the first thing. And then the virtues. So I think a lot of people will be ready. It's like this kind of a wave of awakening and experiencing the Christed being, experiencing the Christed love inside. Call it whatever you want. In ancient times, they called the Christed energy of Osiris, Ahura Mazda, Vishwakarman in the seven rishis called. This is the spirit of the sun, the spirit of love that created our whole universe, and especially the solar system is the highest being there, which is very personal and full of love, by the way. It's not some impersonal energy that floats around and some impersonal intelligence. And that's the experience of Pisces, being able to experience this extremely personal love feeling of unity with everything. Someone who's died and came back, they can tell you what the feeling is. Someone who's had spiritual experience, maybe many of you have. I'm surprised how many people have felt that, and they change people after. And I expect this, and I expect even some miraculous developments, like sightings of the Holy Mother, sightings of signs in the sky. I mean, maybe Jesus on a toast. I mean, like, or crying icons, because Pisces rules the saints, the icons. I expect some saintly activity to happen as well, some saintly sacrifice of someone to happen. There might be even someone who is turned into a martyr, some big name that sacrifices himself, maybe the elite powers or dark powers that kill someone or make him a victim, and that creates a huge outcry in people. Expect such themes around that time, a martyr figure that appears, someone who is the scapegoat, someone who is blamed like Jesus was, and killed for helping humanity, so to speak. So that's something that can happen. And again, it will be someone who so consciously chooses to this sacrifice, so humans can awaken, so this compassion can be born in humans' heart and turn towards, so they can feel this awakening doesn't happen just through the mind. We had it in 2021, many of us through the mind. It happens mostly through here, and this is what Pisces Jupiter is gonna do. I expect the art to be beautiful. I expect movies and art, and it might be even underground one that comes hidden, not at the official main sources, that comes, that blows your mind. Maybe you'll see towards the end of the year, or music and such things just I'm excited about this upliftment of the spirit that will come through the art from the invisible world. Many of you might have dreams, visitations from loved one from invisible worlds, inspirations that come from, um, you know, downloading kind of visions, prophecies in your dreams, prophetic dreams, especially around April 12th. Big watch signs, omens. Jupiter and Pisces rule all of those things, omens and signs from above, and the sun has been shining so beautifully here. Hope it's a confirmation. um, and but on the dark side, there is a dark side to Jupiter and Pisces with Neptune. Jupiter expands whatever it touches, and Pisces has a low vibration as well. Pisces is everything that is rules prisons, quarantines, hospitals. There can be explosion of such things, people being in prison, many quarantine places, or places where they're gonna lock people up, in a sense, because Pisces is isolation. Pisces is on the lower level, and actually physical isolation brings spiritual enlightenment within, but I can expect also Pisces is all those that are useless in society, called the useless eaters. There is a popular so unemployment is Pisces. Unemployment can, that we can see the influence of that, and social services can explode, can expand the need for social services, because there'll be many sick, or many unemployed, or many without food, on the border of poverty. Pisces rules those that can take care of themselves, like helpless babies, the very sick ones in hospitals, those that and you're seeing there is a huge explosion of sick people happening. I'm not gonna say why, but you see the hospitals are overwhelmed. For one of this, a lot of them have taken already the medicine, and a lot of them are with a lot of, so the health systems will be overwhelmed. It might be presented they're overwhelmed from something else, but there's just like expansion of those in need of really. Pisces is those that are like victims, increase the victims. Pisces also refugees, explosion of refugees comes, or explosion of migration, people moving in big waves. And Pisces removes the barriers to moving to different countries. Jupiter as well, it gives the green light, so you can see like big groups of people moving from one continent to another, from one state to another. It's already started, but you're gonna see it even bigger in 2022. Unemployment may be becoming bigger, and unemployment services being overwhelmed, hospitals, social services being overwhelmed, orphans, and such kind of stuff. I hope the quarantine thing that I told you, camps and so on, is not true, but it's another manifestation that is possible. This is what Pisces rules. Read it. I'm not inventing it. I'm not squeezing out of my fingers to suit my own agenda. But let me see some of my notes, because I'm just like talking here, maybe so I don't miss anything what I've written when I prepared. Explosion of spirituality and mystical personal experiences, miracles, divine signs, explosion of Christian values and Christian revival. Growth for Pisces, maybe on a more spiritual level, not the very kind of materialistic one. 5 days everything was created, and 7 days or whatever. It was more on a mystical Christianity. Oh, growth for Pisces careers. If you're in any of those careers, you can expect things to go big. If you're in any spiritual career, if you're in music, if you're in art, in healing, in social services, so if you're looking for a job, choose such directions: mental and physical health care. By the way, it can also create new medical system, because Pisces is hospitals, those that take care of the sick, the poorly. And there has been a big movement, the hundreds of thousands or millions of medical care workers that have been fired to organize an alternative healing system, medical system. So there is, and by the way, when Jupiter is in Pisces, the real true healers come. So people also will turn to more mystical ways of healing, and that start to heal the spiritual root causes first. But I expect that there will be, first of all, medical system can be overwhelmed, but also there will be new hospitals or medical opening, maybe secretly as well. There is Pisces energy as well there. Um, okay, but as I said, possible deluge of unemployed, sick, displaced, refugee, orphans, victims, people needing help and charity. Of course, Pisces is also a water sign. Lots of rains can happen till May, and at the end of 2022, deluges and floods are possible as well. Um, Unfortunately, it's one of the things, and it can be wetter spring till May the 10th. After that, the summer's going to get quite hot when Jupiter enters into Aries. Um, Internal exploration, legislation for cannabis and other psychedelics. If you want to invest in something, invest in this, because Pisces, Jupiter gives the green light to legalize such things. Retreats and exotic travel can explode. Retreats and exotic travel, okay. Of course, that's Pisces, to go away, hotel industry, retreats. Might be a good thing also to invest in hotels or abroad. Well, Jupiter is in Pisces. Of course, pharmaceuticals is also Pisces, so they're gonna be raking in the money as well. Petrol as well is Pisces. I think, can't think of water companies, something like that. Okay, we talked about Jupiter in Aries after that. New moral, spiritual leaders, humanistic self-initiative, acting on the new future. Pioneers are coming. The pioneers, they're there, but that's when they're going to take action. Going into the wilderness, I think American people have very strong Aries spirit, because the original Americans and the Australian people as well, those that went to inhabit those two continents. And by the way, in ancient astrology, in medieval and then Renaissance astrology, those countries have very strong fire. They're Aryan, they're called Aryans, because they were Aryan, because on the Mars, they're on the Aries kind of influence. Because they're explorers, they are, going to the wilderness is very pioneering. Anyone who is a pioneer going, to new continents without anything provided, you need to have a lot of courage. And I know those two countries, the Canadians, the Americans, the Australians. Oh, you have not seen the lion roar in them. You have not seen this pioneer hero in them. It will be born when Jupiter enters in Aries this year, and in 2023 it will be in Aries. There will be human development when Jupiter is in Aries, by innovation, movement, self-directed, self-confident, new competitive businesses will appear. A lot of, in Jupiter, in Pisces, things are more dissolved, more spiritual businesses, and many other are being dissolved, but new ones will appear. Those ones who lost their jobs in Pisces, Jupiter in Pisces, who are made unemployed, they would find new initiatives, a new force of energy to act from May onwards in 2022, and then again in 2023 when Jupiter goes into Aries again. Then we have another huge thing, is the nodes, the changing signs. I told you a little bit that till now the South Node, which weakens wherever it goes, was in this, from April in 2020, it went there on May. So the travel industry, Sagittarius, tourism, higher education, universities, they closed, churches closed, it was weakened. Not to mention that our judicial system is weakened during that time as well. The laws, and what is Sagittarius, was weakened. Truth, morality, the divine laws, and the good humane laws, not the one for control, that are based on spiritual principles. It was weakened. Plus our beliefs were totally, what we believed was reality. How many people's worldviews were changed in this year and a half? On the South Node, with the South Node creates the eclipses, so they make the biggest shifts in consciousness, in faith. It changes. How many things like that change? Well, the South Node was in Sagittarius. Our belief systems are no longer the same. My Sagittarius is also your ideas about the future. What are you imagining your future will be? Mine was totally pulverized with my ideas before this all started happening, because before South Node went into Sagittarius, before 2020. was, oh, jet setting, oh, houses all over the world, in Dubai, in Florida, and whatnot. Now I'm like, oh, self-sustaining community, live in the village away from society, like my worldview and my, um, let's say, meaning in life change. So yeah, this is what South Node did in Sagittarius, while the North Node, I'm missing my North Node, was in Gemini till the end of 2021. They're always opposite each other. So for the same period, what happened? Social media, Gemini social media exploded because people could only communicate through social media. Wherever the North Node goes, things expand. Many new social media appeared, MeWe, Odyssey, brand new Tube, Mute, whatever. But as well, Rahu is a demon energy. As you know, in Vedic astrology, the North Node is a trickster. It was a Asura, which is demonic influence that tricked the gods to become immortal. And so it's connected to lying, to being subterfuge. What is that? It's like someone who is camouflaged and plays a different role um, to make its place into a different place, like where they don't belong in. So we saw in the news a lot of fake news, a lot of information that was misleading in mainstream media, in non-mainstream media. It was so hard to see through what is true, what is not, because wherever Rahu goes, it puts lies, and it puts a lot of agent provocateurs and a lot of subterfuge. I'm not sure what the word is. Damn. I should have checked that word. Someone who, you know, infiltrators, yes. So a lot of infiltrators that would put in on purpose wrong information, a lot of kind of information was exploded. Yes, Rahu expands everything. It touches the social media, online education. It's Gemini as well. A local travel is Gemini. It exploded. But as well, at the same time, there was a lot of in the information. And does anyone trust the media anymore? Maybe some people do. I don't know. But they're on a different zodiac than me, probably on a different planet. And so yeah, this is what Rahu did. And now Rahu will move into Taurus. They're moving backwards from the start of 2022. While South Node, I like to put the moon there as the South Node, will move into Scorpio. So we'll have very different dynamic of energies. And by the way, Sagittarians and Geminians will be freed from eclipses anymore. Things will come down there. But Scorpio and Taurus people are going to have the biggest shifts in consciousness, big fated events happening in their life over in 2022. But for that, you can check my personal videos. I speak a bit about each sign in depth for 2.5 hours. But let's see on a collective level. Let's start with the North Node. Wherever the North Node, Rahu, goes in Taurus, it's money. So there can be explosion of new opportunities for money, which is great to know. An explosion of new resources that can happen as well. But on another level, Rahu brings confusion and, as I said, a lot of lies. So they can be being misled about money. There can be some kind of an infiltration into the money system. There can be some kind of, let's say, demonic forces, which is one of the energies of Rahu, that can do big damage with the financial system, especially with your savings. And wherever Rahu goes, things are never stable. So savings, I don't know what you can turn them in, maybe always gold or whatever, or buy something longer lasting, because money, like currency, might be quite useless by the time Rahu comes out of Taurus. Your savings might be quite different than what they were, because there'll be manipulation at the markets, at the money level. And that will, so by 2023, by the middle of 2023, it will all have happened. Plus Rahu, which is a planet also of innovation and progress, though, because the demonic influences also, there is, the Asuras in the Vedic astrology, they're also about progress a lot, technological and so on, which is not a bad thing. We need to use the Asuric influences until they don't take over us. we need to use them for good. God has allowed Zurich to exist because they're necessary for humanity. So that's why in the West, actually, we love in Western astrology the North Node Rahu, because it always gives increase and growth. The negative side is avarice and just kind of gluttony and, uh, where it becomes to an extreme, greed. But Rahu and addiction, that's the dark side of the North Node. So be careful also with addiction to foods this year, starting, with addiction to unhealthy foods in particular. Rahu is something artificial. Artificial foods can be foisted on the markets everywhere. Foods that are presented as a healthy option but are actually either GMO. There's some tinkering there because there's some either high technology but it's not natural, and it's Rahu, there is a perversion there, and that is maybe like four meats, fake meats. And that was great because I'm vegetarian, almost vegetarian. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I need meat, but it's very rare. But when you look what's inside those fake meats, it will, it's kind of all kinds of fungi and laboratory grown stuff, and it's it's the same like eating, I don't know, something made in a laboratory. So there will be a huge push. Actually, such companies that are making very GMO artificial foods can have an explosion, or substitute foods for real foods, for the natural things, can have an explosion there. The stock value market, especially the fake meats ones and so on. But you have to be very careful because what's going to be put into food, you have to start really checking. It might not be even on whatever it's on the thing of the food where you read what it is, because Rahu also rules poisonous things. Rahu rules. So I'm worried what they might start putting in foods that you buy from the grocery store, or and it might start a trend that continues for 19 years. So we have the technology for that. So I would advise you to shop as locally and as simply as possible. But on a positive level, there can be great innovations in the food industry and explosion. Again, Rahu is expansion and growth of people growing their own food. Because Rahu also rules big groups of people. And it's with Uranus there, which also rules big groups of people, or collaboration. So I think people can start collaborating and using as much technology as they can, whether it's hydroponics or whatever. Being interested in learning the technological side, which is Rahu is very technologically savvy about foods and how to grow your own foods. So if you're in any Taurus careers, like growing food, like production of resources. The prices of resources and food can jump. Rahu can indicate inflation, something rising high. It's actually almost like too much rising, like a bubble, because Rahu is sudden frog jump energies, like sudden. It has, this, and Uranus is there, which in Taurus, which again is sudden. They both have very Aquarian energy. In ancient astrology, Rahu rules Aquarius. In modern astrology, Uranus rules Aquarius. So they're both about innovation, something new, and sudden jumps in Taurian things, in food, so on one level, they'll try to innovate where the food comes from, how we eat. I don't know, they're buying up huge lands to trying to grow all the foods from just two companies to grow it for all the world. But what are they going to put in there? Are they intentions? The law manifestation of Rahu, which was demonic, don't forget, which was the dark side. Or there is, on a smaller level, people always can manifest the highest manifestation of Rahu, which is innovation, expansion of food sources, of growth, growing your own food, creating some networks, because Rahu and Uranus are both connected to networks for resources. And Taurus is not just food, but it's resources, it's anything, whether it's wood material, whether it's electricity, all of those things are Taurus ruled, all resources. And because Rahu is there will be disruptions, and Rahu will be squared by Saturn. There will be disruptions. Saturn in Aquarius, and the eclipses, especially in April, there is an eclipse, or May, that is squaring the nodes, that's squaring the eclipse. Saturn is squaring the eclipse, and Uranus, and then one in November. So again, the whole year there can be big disruptions to supply chains. Chains is Aquarius. Taurus, supply of resources, food, and such things. So maybe it's good to organize yourself on a smaller level. Where is your local supplies, you know? But the other big thing that Taurus is the money system. I'm telling you, while Rahu is in Taurus, the North Node, with Uranus, they would introduce maybe everywhere, or maybe the first um, centralized, at least the first country. I think it will happen very fast everywhere because it's with Uranus. I think that maybe in the summer already 2020, or by the summer of 2023, the latest, when Rahu is still in this Taurus sign, the North Node, the huge innovations in the money systems, huge innovations, maybe the, you know, because both are about technology, the currencies, the, you know, cryptocurrencies, that will be, but they'll do it, they'll want to do it centralized. That can impoverish a lot of people. They'll do it like okay, there's a financial crisis, people are losing the value of their money, we cannot continue to have such money, so let's, you know, we have a solution. And as I told you, this whole thing will continue until they change the financial system. This whole locking, you know, this kind of a psyop wearing you down will continue till the financial system is changed, because that's the ultimate goal. Because when it's centralized digital, there's total control. And of course, Saturn conjunction in Jupiter on the lower level is digital control. So that will happen whether we want it or no. But at the same time, alternative currencies and ways of exchanging goods and resources will be created during the next year and a half. You know, some clever little buggers will come out, and despite the centralized system, they'll say, okay, for those that don't want to be part of the centralized system, this is our currency. This will be how the money, you know, of what is valuable. I think maybe silver will jump, because the moon that rules silver is exalted in Taurus, and Rahu will expand this kind of, will raise the Taurian energy. So might be a good bet maybe to put something in silver as well. But that's not gonna to grow your money, that will be to save them. If you're good with cryptocurrencies, and if you might be, 2022 can be very big for you, but especially if you go for the centralized ones, that will become the norm. But those of you who, you know, because I think they would regulate the decentralized ones, because Saturn will square the nodes, the eclipses in the sign of money. Saturn is regulation from Aquarius. So, but I still think that there will be ways around it. That's what people are very, Rahu Uranus is the most inventive combination when they get together. They'll invent some new money, but others will also invent some new money and resources. Okay. Our taste will change. Oh, new music is coming. Very inventive. Because of course Rahu Taurus is also music. Then the South Node will be, let's put it here in Scorpio. I told you what South Node did in Sagittarius, how it weakened everything ruled by Sagittarius. When it goes into Scorpio, it can weaken everything that rules Scorpio. Which on a positive level, Scorpio is secret societies, the dark occultism, the, you know, anyone that, if you believe in this kind of sort, those that use invisible powers to control, or use psychology or psyops, you know, Scorpio rules psychology and manipulative methods to control people. They can be a weakening of that, or a weakening of those methods, like they won't work as well as before, because Ketu kind of, you know, it weakens whatever it touches. So it also is excrete, it's the tail of the dragon. And it's also described as a detached observer. So people can suddenly detach themselves from all the drama, because Scorpio is a very dramatic sign, from all the fear. Scorpio has a lot of fear, from all the fear of death. Scorpio is dead. So they can detach a little bit from that and say, let me sit in the eye of the storms and see what this is all about. South Node is the most spiritual influences of the detached observer. People who meditate, they know what I'm talking about. It's a kind of realizing that you're the observer and everything around you is some kind of a movie, and you're in the still center within where nothing can ruffle you. So a lot of people can reach that kind of state, and kind of the drama can diminish, the fear, the hysteria, and the ability to be controlled through the fear of death, the ability to be controlled through kind of scary negative things, and through, of course, manipulation of any sort. And that will weaken, and a lot of people have, because Raku removes any barrier to anything, almost like intuitive downloads without thinking. Ketu has no head, so it kind of perceives with its body, because it's just a tail, it's just body without a head. So it's almost like you won't have to think about it, you have like a sudden realization, and you know it. You don't know how you know it, you perceive it through your body, and you see through a lot of lies. And that's what I'm really hoping with South Node passing through Scorpio, seeing through this manipulations, seeing through the dark agenda, knowing it. You won't even need to give you statistics. Like Rahu in Gemini loved, we went crazy about statistics. Gemini statistics, Rahu expanded it there, and Rahu is how it manipulated the whole public opinion through statistics. On one side, one will give statistic, on another one, they'll say, I use statistics too. I went crazy being on my phone all day long. I was like checking 5 social media accounts all the time, reading what's happening on mainstream, what's happening on the non-mainstream. Well, those statistics, like people will see through those things. They'll say you can use statistic in any way you want, for good, for bad. And they would like withdraw from the whole chaos of information, which is Sagittarius Gemini axis. And they'll be like this deep intuitive understanding and seeing through bullshit. It can also weaken one other thing on the public level it can happen. Scorpio is debt. There can be some kind of a emptying of debt or removal of debt on a government level, on a personal level. Debt can be a big topic here, where there is like, we'll forgive your debt if you do this or that, but there is like also the weakening of the countries through the debt they have, through the huge, it can start really kind of becoming a burden. So something that wastes a lot of resources there. The tax system, the taxing system, they might start falling apart. Taxation is Scorpio, actually anything. Scorpio rules any mafia organizations. Taxation is mafia structure, the IRS, these all mafia structure. Police is also Scorpionic, because they're about control. Taxation is, again, it's like, what happens if you don't tax? You're entered into prison. Anything that's coercive. No one wants to pay taxes, but and they were introduced only 100 or 120 years ago, as far as I know. But doesn't matter. But there can be some weakening of taxes. I'm not sure. Maybe something that happens overall the world about taxes, like equalizing tax rate or something like that, which can lower for some people tax rates, probably. But I'm thinking there. Plus, there might be the crash of insurances and inheritances companies. Maybe, I don't know, there might be too many health claims or some disasters or whatever, but there is weakening of all those Scorpio ruled businesses, insurances, inheritances, and weakening of such kind of stuff, They can also be no resistance to, because North Node can remove resistance. Nor, what have I written here? I haven't written anything. No resistance. Oh, on a spiritual level, again, Scorpio is all the purchase of the body. It rules the chakras and the anus, anything that's a hole in your body. Scorpio rules it. It's a little dirty little sign. What a wonderful sign as well, because through the chakras we have the initiation into higher consciousness. And when Jupiter is in Pisces and South Node, both are moksha, liberation planets, sattvic, and South Node is in Scorpio, I think I see big spiritual awakening happening for some people. The chakras opening, because Ketu removes barriers as well. Ketu removes all resistance to blockages in the chakras. But for some people, they can be, if they're not ready, some people might go crazy. You can see an explosion of people going a bit crazy. The spiritual sight is open earlier, like seeing, they call them schizophrenic. They actually are seeing things, but from the lower astral dimensions, which freak the hell out of you. You see the guardian of the threshold, which is image of your own shadow side. It can be really scary, you know, when you enter without having completed the moral self-growth, the goodness, the kindness, the non-harmfulness, you know. So I see like explosion of kind of mental breakdowns, because those are signs, Pisces, Scorpio, that are connected to, you know, to the subconscious, where both Jupiter and South Node remove barriers. So from those inner demons to come up of Scorpio or Pisces, from the invisible world. So some of you might really be confronted with some of the shadows of you. You might feel like you're having a mental breakdown, but it's a spiritual awakening. And especially if you're a morally good person, if you're not purposefully evil. How many people are purposefully evil? Oh, I like to torture small animals. It's so rare. But if you're not purposefully evil, or if you're not involved heavily in certain substances, and if you're not harming people or using Scorpio energy, coercing others in anything, putting down others in any way. So even if you're having a mental breakdown, it's a spiritual awakening. And I think Jupiter will make it become kind of easier because it's making a trine there. So interesting. Removing barriers to initiation, high initiation possible, the chakras opening, so spiritual activities of any sorts as well, just contemplation, prayer, yoga, healing work can be huge to remove. Plus, Scorpio is when we have blockages in our astral body, so, and where we keep the traumas, you know, maybe you were raped and you don't know it, but maybe now you have cancer of the, maybe, you know, you have some illness here of your sex organs and you have not connected it, that it's because of this raping that happened, because you haven't released and forgiven or released the emotional pain from this. Well, when South Node transits in Scorpio, it can do exactly that for many people. It can help you release, because South Node is to excrete emotional pain that's stored in the body, in the emotional body, because Scorpio rules part of the astral body, the emotional body, which on another level filters into the physical, so they can be spontaneous healings. So no resistance to spontaneous healing. Some people can really heal like from cancers and on a bigger level than ever before. 2022, I promise you'll see it around you. So healing is there. Then South Node, North Node in Taurus, I forgot to tell you, I have a few. Inflation of price possible. South Node can suddenly rise prices. Inflation in commodities and resources. The new inventions or technologies for self-sustaining supply of resources and food. Ramping up the green deals, Rahu in Taurus, I forgot to tell you, because Taurus is the nature. So they'll ramp up the information with a lot of lies and put inside as well, Rahu, with some agenda. Rahu is a planet that has agenda. It's a selfish motivation, because Rahu wanted to become a god, so it pretended to be moral good god to drink the juice of immortality and became. So it has an agenda, whatever Rahu has. Just like Rahu was in Gemini, the media has an agenda, and it became very obvious. They will continue probably, but Rahu going in Taurus, the banks will have now an agenda. Whoever regulates the food and the resources will have an agenda. And those regulatory deals, green deals, will have an agenda. And because about weather change, carbon footprints, how much resources everyone is using. And they will start using Rahu's high technology, using high technologies to see this. So it's like John Smith didn't switch off the toilet light when he after he flushed and he left the toilet light on. Some would take some points off. He can't buy cabbage or whatever, or he has low social credit score. So Something like that will be invented or possible while Rahu is in Taurus, to start kind of technology. Rahu, Uranus, they both ruled out, to see the carbon footprint and the resources, how much water you drink. Of course, they can drive jets that have the carbon footprint of 1,000 people, but you can't leave your toilet light on. Of course, I don't recommend you to waste resources. I don't, but you'll be controlled through those resources. And this is what Rahu and the North Node and Uranus in Taurus will also be preparing as a control, because it's squared by Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn in Aquarius is control of the people. And those new things, there will be resistance towards them, but they'll be introduced slowly. And, the biggest poisoner of the planet is who, you think? The big corporations. It's not you and me. It's not that I have my Christmas lights now on. And if it was just us using those resources, would be great. Is this incredible greed of certain people. And that greed will become huge when Rahu is in Taurus. Rahu is a mouth without the body. It eats and it's never full. Taurus is resources. So someone will be snatching up all the resources. Taurus is the land as well. Taurus is the food resources. Someone will be voraciously trying to grab them and take them. But on a personal level, I advise you, have your own little green heaven on your terrace, on your balcony. Something green, So you use the high manifestation of Rahu in Taurus. Or find some source of food and supply and resources. Because not everyone has green fingers. Not everyone can grow their own food. I can talk the head off of you here for 5 hours on astrology, but my plants die within a week, so I can't grow my own food. I will try. I'll do everything when Rahu is in Taurus to try, but I'll find resources around someone who can do it, or my husband, Anyway. So, yes, what else? Gemini is going to go into, Taurus. Yes, I forgot to tell. People asking me, when will COVID go away? Taurus, well, Saturn is in Aquarius. All the bad, the more you watch, now scientists are saying COVID is a blood disorder. It's not actually, it affects the lungs sometimes, but it's actually, even I was speaking with a doctor, and she says, I don't know why my colleagues call it like respiratory. It's you see that the capillaries and the walls of the blood vessels are the ones that suffer the most, that they're destroyed in the lungs as well, the capillaries. This is blood disorder. Well, the moment Saturn entered Aquarius in 2020, that's the axis of Leo Aquarius. Immediately, any illnesses intensify because Saturn creates the problems. And she says, it's as if the walls of the capillaries, the way she describes it, as if they're ruptured or as if they're toughened, like as if they're of 100-year-old person. And that's what Saturn is, to toughen, to put on, to condense, to, what is that called? That word. To dry out, to stiff up. And Aquarius rules the capillaries. Leo rules the heart and the blood. Aquarius rules the vein system that the blood runs through. Leo rules the heart that pumps it around. So what are we seeing? The biggest increase, blood clots. So it's because blood clots and everything with the lungs that they're seeing. It's basically the capillaries of the lungs being, something happening to them. So it's attacking the blood itself, and it's attacking the vessels of the blood that carry it. And this is Aquarius. Aquarius, you remember what I tell? Leo is the heart and what it pumps. Aquarius is the network that spreads it around. That's why Aquarius rules deliveries and resource supply chains. That's the vein system is your supply chain, and that's why they're suffering as well, the supply chain. So we're seeing, and what they're saying, they're touting so many blood clots, heart diseases, kids getting carditis, pericarditis. Some of us know why it is from, others are saying it's climate change. Someone can say, okay, it's Saturn in Aquarius and Leo, but there are other reasons, but all diseases on the axis of Aquarius and Leo have really increased. Doctors are shocked why it's happening. We know that when Saturn moves out of Aquarius, there will be other diseases that come. This attack on the heart and the vein and this so-called COVID symptoms will disappear. It's almost like some blood poisoning they describe. But when Saturn moves into Pisces in 2023, so these things continue there. So I see it continuing, this kind of, that it hits the capillaries, the lungs, and of course, it hit the heart and the vein system, which affects the lungs. Not that I'm a doctor, you see, I don't have a degree in that, I just read. And I speak with doctors and I inform myself. And you can say, no, we trust the science. Well, do that. I'm just trying to give you an advice. What Aquarius energies, inform yourself, think for yourself. And of course, at the end of the year, from September, we have Mars will enter into Gemini and stay there till March for 7 months. That's the next biggest event. It will continue. It becomes retrograde in November and December and January 2023. But the whole stay in Mars in Gemini, I see like a bit of a breakdown of the, of the whole media system. And I see some media giants falling down and new ones being restructured. Plus, I see there will be kind of a lot of, because Mars is almost like coercion. It's coercive, forceful through media, coercive messages. And Mars will square Neptune again from Pisces 3 times. That's about some misinformation, some very, very coercive propaganda that is very misleading as well. I also see separation even more between, because Gemini is the siblings, the 2 brothers or neighbors or boy and girl, whatever, that there's like Mars is like a spear between them, like a knife cutting through them. There will be more separation between siblings, close relatives. Mars will antagonize the situation furthermore between Vax and Vax, pro-green passes against. Plus, Gemini rules papers. I see there maybe even some bloodsheds or some kind of big fights happening because of green passes, anything connected, and some forcing. Mars is trying to force, like forcefully, by using some kind of a Neptunian measures, like lies, misleading, because it's a hard aspect. It's not an easy aspect to kind of force such kind of green passes. But because Mars then it goes retrograde, there can be a revoking of that. There can be a big rebellion against papers of such things, because Daine Papire Bite, what the hell? Which year is this? Walking on the street being stopped for your papers. And I know it's saying it's for the greater good, for the health of everyone. I don't know, guys, think for yourself, because it's getting scary. If you really, maybe this channel will be deleted after this video. I don't know. I hope not. We'll have to find ways, but just there's a much bigger spiritual thing behind all of this. And look at it like a great game. A game for the souls. A game for, will humanity become independent and thinking for itself, or will become enslaved? Guess who wins? Of course, we'll win, but we gotta have more faith. And this Mars in Gemini, it's gonna have some very important development. Plus, Gemini rules trades and small businesses. I see maybe a lot of such businesses will close. There will be like a breakdown. I see a lot of businesses and trades having to be restructured and reworked from the end of the year till March 2023. Plus, this Mars retrograde will be in Gemini, but at the background of the constellation of Taurus, where a lot of wealth stars are. That's when I think financial markets will be, and trades and markets. I think that's when I worry the second part of the year, especially that's when the eclipses in Taurus are happening, square Saturn and conjunct Uranus from November, when Mars is already starting to be retrograde. That's the time, if anything happens, like a big inflation, economic crisis, businesses breaking down, that's when I'm most worried it can be. But on the positive side, it can be like a big like change that starts happening in those areas, in businesses, in even the financial sphere, in a positive way to be reworked. And that can be the time when usage, saving, let's say, solutions can be reworked and found by the spring of 2023. And at that positive level, if that was positive, I don't know. I want to thank you. And I don't know, maybe my discussion was very biased. That's how I feel it with all my heart. That's how I see it. That's how I interpret the stars. If you want maybe something more sugar coated, maybe something more fluffy, not so esoteric, more practical, more, it's not, I don't think it was scary. It was very positive. Um, I was telling you what's gonna happen. Freedom will come at the end. Sovereignty of independent small communities and nations will come back. First, there will be, yes, there will be this big top-down world government for a little bit, but all prophecies and astrology, and I explained the astrology of Aquarius, there is no way centralized one world government can, and one world surveillance can stay during the age of Aquarius. It's just, it's not in the plan. You can't go against the whole current of the cosmic plan of the times of the, they call them the hierarchies of time that create the time, the basically they're represented by the constellations. You can't go against it. You can try. I give them kudos. They're incredibly hardworking on the other side trying to stop this. They're a big respect to those, whatever we call the black lodges that do this. It requires so much hard work to go against evolution. They're extremely intelligent, but it's just not going to happen. And the awakening is happening, and you see the Aquarian energies just flowing in, and revolutions don't happen by the majority. Big consciousness changes, and big changes happen from the minorities always. And on this level, I finish, and I love you all. Have a blessed 2022. Thank you, God, for the opportunity to be born at this most amazing times, most interesting times, biblical times, as we say. We are very grateful to be here and to be part of this awakening. And may you work through us. May we be your instrument for the fulfilling of the divine kingdom on earth here. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next year. And do check out my 2022 personal video horoscopes with no political talk there. Just personal stuff. I love you.